Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kaustubha. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/Wisdom of the Sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York City, Kaustubha Das. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Tuesday. Mara's in Puerto Rico. She's on location in tropical, sunny Puerto Rico. I was just saying before the show started that I'm really impressed at all these Zoomers who, and others, there's others out there that I'm not noticing, but we're just listening to the show every day. And you can do things every day. It's difficult to do anything every day. A spiritual sadhana means we do regular spiritual practice every day. One of them is just sitting and listening or speaking. Speaking and hearing the Bhagavatam is part of a spiritual sadhana. Doing things on a regular basis like this, you can't just like go through it. The Bhagavatam itself will start to change your being. It'll start to bring things to the surface. It'll start to change the way you see the world and see yourself in relationship to the world, in relationship to pleasure, in relationship to infinity or time, in relationship to your diet, in relationship to your relatives, in relationship to your vacations. Right? Mara's on vacation. But it changes you when you're in the Bhagavatam doing vacation. You're like, all right, sense gratification here. Let's try to enjoy the material world. What do you think about that, Kaustubh?
I think you're trying to ruin Mara's vacation.
Let
her live.
Live. Enjoy material life. Be blessed. You're blessed. Squeeze all the nectar out of matter. No, she knows too much. She knows too much. I found these very beautiful prayers last night glorifying the Bhagavatam. We always do our regular ones, which we're going to do right now. And then if you don't mind, I'm going to throw in a couple more.
Sure.
Which is, they call Bhagavat Stuti. I guess Stuti is like stotram, means prayers or offerings.
Mm-hmm. Composed by?
Some are by the Bhagavatam, some are by Lord Chaitanya. I'll tell you, I'll read a few because in these prayers, they get you they're meant to get you a little excited about what the result you're going to get. Even though we shouldn't be doing this with the result, there's definitely some auspicious results from studying the Bhagavatam. It's also, we have an interesting demographic on this show too. We have people who listen every day. And then we have people just sort of like, maybe like with other podcasts, you might listen to one episode a week or one episode a month, and you're sort of like unfamiliar with what's going on. So we are sort of like walking the slack line of trying to like accommodate basically two demographics of people. People are sort of like, yeah, it's sort of interesting. I'm into yoga. And people are like, I want to study the Srimad Bhagavatam. So we find it challenging to walk that line. So please tolerate our offering here. But let's start with our regular prayers, our regular stutis to the Srimad Bhagavatam. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam dato jayam mudiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naistiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And loving service to the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. So I'm going to add some more here before we hit Om Jnana. So here's a nice one. Krishne sva damo pakate dana jana dibi saha kalo nastadrisham esha puranarko dunoditaha. You might know that one, Kaustubha. You know that one? It's from the Bhagavatam, from the first canto.
Okay.
You know it if I say it. After Lord Krishna departed for his abode, along with Dharma and transcendental knowledge, this Purana, Srimad Bhagavatam, has arisen like the sun in this age of Kali to enlighten those who have no spiritual vision.
I think we were playing with that as an idea for the title at one point, when we're trying
for the
to
title of the show?
It's something about the rising sun or this or that. Yeah.
Ah,
That was a year ago, a year ago.
a year ago. That's right. We were like, what are we going to call we got till January 1st to figure out a name for this. Okay, here's one. I'm not going to do the Sanskrit because I can't figure out the meter, but Srimad Bhagavatam is the spotless Purana. It is most dear to the Vaishnavas because it describes the pure and supreme knowledge of the Paramahamsas, or the liberated souls. This Bhagavatam reveals the meaning for becoming free from all material work, together with the process of transcendental knowledge, renunciation, and devotion. Anyone who seriously tries to understand the Srimad Bhagavatam, who properly hears and chants it with devotion, becomes completely liberated. Boom. That's powerful, huh? Mm-hmm. That's from the 12th canto. There's another one from the 12th canto. It is the Srimad Bhagavatam is declared to be the essence of all Vedanta philosophy. One who has felt satisfaction from its nectarian mellow will never be attracted to any other literature. Goodbye, Catcher in the Rye. Out the window. 1984. Delete all my books on Audible. Okay. Here's another one. This is from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 12th canto. One who, with undeviating attention, constantly recites the Srimad Bhagavatam at every moment of every hour, as well as one who faithfully hears even one verse or half a verse, or a single line, or even half of a line.
It keeps getting easier as you go.
It gets easier. Or certainly purifies his very self. Here's one from Lord Chaitanya. The Srimad Bhagavatam is as great as Krishna himself and the shelter of everything. In each and every verse and syllable of Srimad Bhagavatam, there are multifaceted meanings for it as infinite as Krishna. Wow. Another one from the Chaitanya Bhagavat. Chaitanya said, the Srimad Bhagavatam is full of Krishna prema, or love of Krishna. It is non-different from the beautiful body of Krishna and is part of Krishna himself, for it describes Krishna's confidential pastimes. Another one from Lord Chaitanya. In the beginning, middle, and end of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it speaks only of bhakti to Krishna. As such, this literature is eternally perfect, infallible, and infinite because it contains all truths pertaining to the infinite. And finally, Lord Chaitanya said, since the Srimad Bhagavatam speaks so exclusively of pure truths of bhakti, it is unparalleled amongst any other literature. No other scripture can compare to the Srimad Bhagavatam. That's from the Chaitanya Bhagavat. Right. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. They make you want to read it.
Let's do it.
Beginning, middle, and end. I apologize, everybody. I was having it. I blame it on the inauspicious planet. There must have been some malefic planet going on because, well, first of all, the first part's 100% my responsibility. I was using my computer late at night the night before, and I forgot to plug it in. So the show just like whoomp, zopped out, and I disappeared from the computer screen. Yeah, and I was like looking at my computer, like, why is, because I have 1,000. If you can only see what's plugged into my computer, I have external cameras, external screens, external. So I was like, it seems plugged in, and then I realized it's not plugged in at all. And so I had to run into my house across the, because I'm in the yogi house right now. I had to run, plug it in, and my computer took a long time to boot up. And then when it booted up, the internet just stopped working. So it was like choppy. So I apologize for Kaustubha had to lead the dance party at the end of the show without me. Mara was the DJ. Both of you, not your usual positions, I know, stepping into your, out of your comfort zone to be the DJ and the dance party leader. So let's dive in. Where do we leave off now with our verses? Did we get to 35?
We almost did. We were on text 33 today.
Okay, good. Thus, by all this, the external feature of the personality of Godhead is covered by gross forms, such as those of the planets, which were explained to you by me. Therefore, beyond this gross manifestation is a transcendental manifestation, finer than the finest form. It has no beginning, no immediate stage, and no end. Therefore, it is beyond the limits of expression or mental speculation, and is distinct from the material conception. So correct me if I'm off base here, Kaustubha. We're trying to explain God in the form of vast, great material things. And now they're revealing actually, but there's something even more subtle. Like they're trying to compare God to the planets or the outer space.
Yeah,
is that correct?
Well, throughout the second canto, even that's right where we began, was an understanding that one way to see God, to think of God, is to look at the material world, look at the planets, look at the mountains, look at the sky, look at the sun, and conceive of it. It's kind of it's a mental adjustment, right? But conceive of that as the body of God. And so here we're hearing, we just heard a continuation of what the material world is made of. The different ingredients that it's made of. That's what we were reading yesterday. And so it's saying that, so that's there, but there's something beyond this. There's more, one should still go further.
Well, this is sort of like that question you asked, like, well, what are you going to get out of going to the Grand Canyon, say? And it is, there is a level of spirituality when you if you're from the city and you drive upstate and all of a sudden you get out of your car and you look at the sky and you're like, wow. Or if you're, like Jeff Eisenberg, going to the ocean every morning to do kirtan, but just to look at the ocean. And it's like, wow, I'm tiny. Or to be on a boat in the ocean also. There's something so like humbling and exciting about being immersed in nature, because there's nothing in nature that makes you feel big in another sense. Even to look at an ant colony, you realize there's so much going on right here. Every facet of it is humbling. And sometimes in the city where you're looking at great feats created by man, like look at the Chrysler Building, look at the Empire State Building, look at the Liberty Tower. It's almost like you're impressed by what man creates. But in nature, you're forced to be a little humbled, to see God, to be like moved. And now Krishna is saying there's something more subtle. You see these planets, right?
Like the verses that you were reading, which was kind of like saying, you hear those verses that you read about the Bhagavatam, and I can understand if a person might react to them by saying, oh, okay, it's just someone saying that their book is better than the other person's book.
Right.
But if you go into it deep enough, you can see it's not a sectarian thing that's being said, but it's saying that this, there's truths on different levels. But this book is going to take it to the end, right? This book is so here it's saying that text 33 was or all the verses that we had just read were describing that you can see God. It's called Pantheism, right, where you see the nature as the form of God, and that's it's kind of like a mental adjustment. It's a type of conception that can be valuable and helpful in a person elevating their thinking, elevating their mind. And then text 34 said, but beyond this gross manifestation, very tangible kind of thing. I can see the mountain I can make the mental adjustment and think of it as a form of God. But
It's
there's
like
something beyond
nuanced
that.
truths, like
I'm sorry?
little, like nuanced truths.
Yeah.
Like you're in an apartment, but your apartment is part of in New York City, and that's on the Upper West Side, and that is near, there's an address. So it's you're in an apartment is a truth, but there's more and more refined,
Sure. Right.
descriptions, right?
And then text 34 said that there's a manifestation that's still finer, right? Finer even than the finest form. So that's what conceptions, you can say theological conceptions, are being discussed here. And so the first one is pantheism, where I see the nature as the form of God. And then the second one is monism, where it's like something that's beyond material form, right? Seeing material form as limiting and saying there must be something beyond material form. And so, that's monism. So that's also the Brahman, the all-pervasive energy of God. That's also another conception of God. And so this is presenting both of those, but it's saying like the next verse will say, there's more beyond that.
But there's more. I want to say something about my shirt.
Go right ahead.
It's like it's one of my festival shirts. It's a Buggle Bundy, if you can see. It's bright purple. I wear it when we do kirtan and stuff like that. It's like I'm saying this because there's always an issue about and it's an issue that people bring up in the Krishna movement right now. Like, what do you think about wearing, Indian clothes versus non-Indian clothes? And we shouldn't wear Indian clothes, or we should wear Indian clothes. We should always wear. And the idea is I like wearing dhotis, and I like wearing these shirts. And I got to let it inspire you. I want to put on my Buggle Bundy today, and I like it because it reminds me of kirtan, and it reminds me of going on pilgrimage and stuff like that. At the same time, and so in that reminding me of it, it affects my mind. It affects my mind and how I think and how I behave. It doesn't make me more spiritual per se, but it affects me in some way. And I just want to clarify that with the way we dress doesn't make us more spiritual or less spiritual, but sometimes it assists us in that mood of getting into that mood. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think both you and I are from the same camp where we realize who cares? No one cares what we wear.
Yeah, I mean, why are we talking? I don't know
why are we talking about that? I'm just looking around what people are wearing, and
I'm happy to talk about.
I was thinking sometimes you might be thinking why is Raghunath wearing that today?
Oh.
But
I wasn't.
I think it's a good important point to say, because it's not the haircut, it's not the spiritual, it's not the beads or the bead bag or the haircut you have, or the beard that makes you spiritual. But sometimes those things they put you in a proper.
Can serve the internal, but they're not the essence, right?
They're not the essence. They're not the essence. So I think as far
everyone
as
should just loosen up, lighten up a little bit.
Yeah, lighten up. Do whatever you need to do. Do whatever you need to do.
And that's what you needed to do today. Wear your purple Bundy.
I needed that. I needed a little today. A little pick me up.
All right.
So I put it on. I put on my spiritual outfit. Lady Di's got her Radha Krishna shirt on. People are looking around and thinking you have Radha Krishna wallpaper. Is that what's going on back there, Kaustubha? Where did you find Radha Krishna wallpaper?
That is it's not a wallpaper. It's a painting.
It's a big
but
painting.
It's a very large painting. Yeah, it's done on cotton, on a big sheet. But it's all of the holy places in Vrindavan. If you come up close, you can see all
that's
the little
super cool.
places and the name of them. The name of each place is painted on it. It's from the Pushti Marg. It's from the Vallabha lineage.
Nice.
But it's got all of the larger Braj. How many krosh is it?
84 krosh.
Yeah,
Panch krosh.
Not
krosh is the local. 84 krosh.
84 krosh.
Yeah.
Which is a measurement. Some kind of measurement krosh.
It's approximately 2 square miles, I think.
Okay. So
a krosh. Isn't that cool? Different measurements.
It's 84
okay.
krosh.
It's 84 krosh. It's a hectacre. whatever that is.
Yeah.
All right, 35. Neither of the above forms of the Lord, as just described unto you from the material angle of vision, is accepted by the pure devotees of the Lord who know him well.
Okay, so that's like a significant, and so I was
Yeah.
saying about Bhagavatam, right? That you can hear it and say, oh, this is it's a sectarian presentation that's saying my book is good, it's better than your book or whatever. It's even really it's comparing itself to the other Vedic literature, especially, you know.
Yeah, it's not even going outside the Vedic realm.
Yeah, and it's saying that, you know, the four Vedas, they're going to reveal a lot of really pertinent, valuable information there. You know, it's real stuff, but it's not going to take you to the deepest levels of spirituality or the what to speak of the deepest levels of understanding God. As a matter of fact, the four Vedas are going to really teach a lot about how to enjoy the material world better, you know, but it's going to give you a lot of valuable information to understand how that's done, you know, like reality, you know, about it. And then the Upanishads are going to go still deeper, and they're going to describe, you know, that ultimately there's real happiness isn't found through the material things. So even though all that was said in the four Vedas is true, there's you can go further into spirituality, and you can understand that I'm not this body, and that happiness isn't derived from anything external, and
Isn't
I
it
could renounce
interesting?
the things of this world, right?
Isn't it interesting that most of the Vedas, when we talk, we say the Vedas, I study the Vedas, most of the Vedas deal with how to enjoy the material world better than you're doing it now.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
But it's how to be a better person too, you know. It's
Well,
how
that's
to be,
part of it.
yeah.
That's part of
If
it.
you're a better person, you'll be able to enjoy better. In a sense, it's like that. If you have gratitude, if you have some humility, if you recognize that, you know, my water is presented to me by someone, and the sun is made available to me by someone, and I'm really a spoiled little brat if I don't recognize that. So become a better person, become grateful, offer some, you know, some demonstration of your gratitude, you know, and be kind to others, and kindness will come to you, because there's a law called karma. You got to recognize that if you want to be happy in this world. So it's how to be happy and happier, let's say, in this world, by recognizing a lot of truth that otherwise we can't figure out. And so that's great. It's great information, and the Upanishads doesn't go still further, but it's saying Bhagavatam, nothing competes with this, because that same author who gave you all that is going to come forward and give the whole thing. And so where these two previous verses said, you know, this pantheistic view, recognizing, hey, you know, the mountain is God. That's great. You know, that'll help you understand more about life, and to understand that God is everywhere. That's also great. But there's still more. And that the complete fulfillment of the heart, you know, like what the Bhagavatam begins with is Atma Suprasiditi, the complete satisfaction of the self. That's ultimately, the Bhagavatam is going to reveal fully how to get there. And that comes through love. You know, that's why we're all like, you know, looking for that, right? Everybody's searching for that. It comes through love. And one can love a person. And so when it says here that, it said that neither the above forms of the Lord, that all-pervasive or that earthly conception, neither the above forms of Lord, as just described unto you from the material angle of vision, is accepted by the pure devotees of the Lord who know him well, you know, who know him well, who have learned more about it. Then they say, it's actually that person I want to know, I want to connect with, I want to reestablish my relationship with.
You know, this point that you first made was, I said, hey, the Vedas teach you how to enjoy the material world better. And you said, actually, they do, but they show you how to be a better person. See,
Yeah.
this is where my mind goes to. It's like, I want to enjoy the material world, so I think of thousands of degraded things to do.
Right.
And, you know, me and my wife, we're into this guy that lately.
Who are you
really
into?
this
Well,
athlete.
you and your wife are
We're into this athlete. It's just like an
Who are
athlete.
you
You know, we
into?
got into running. We got into running, and there's
Alright.
like this cool guy, a cool guy who's just, and we're just, anyway, we're into this guy, and he's just like such a charming guy.
Who's this cool guy? I think you love
His name's
him.
Tommy Rivers
I think-
Poozy.
I think you're in
Tommy
love with
Poozy
him.
Rivers. I can't remember. I do love him. I loved him. I love him. And then so my wife said, because we just started running in the last couple months.
How far do you
Uh,
run?
I ran this morning at 3:30.
Get out of here. That's too early to be running.
No, I just wake up and run. It was
Okay.
great. Anyway, my point is, so
That's
she said,
weird
"Look
though
this-
to be
look-
running out at 3 a.m. Raghunath. That's
You know what? It's good. It's good.
all right.
Anyway, listen to this. So she said, look him up. Let's find out about this guy, because he's just like a guy who just liked being in nature, and he liked
Running.
yeah, and he's humble.
Okay.
Humble people are attractive. So she said, look him up. And so we looked him up. I found his Instagram account, and the guy is like dying of cancer, like in a very bad way. He like went for a run, thought he had heat exhaustion, and my wife like broke into tears. And she's like, this is so shocking. And he's married. He's got 3 kids. And it was so shocking that it sort of like wrecked our whole morning. This was like last week. And I wanted to bring it up, but I said I'm not going to talk about it. But you brought up this point today. And she was at around noon, my wife said, just like, why even bother with this material world and jumping through so many hoops, trying to be a good person? Why not just, try to just like enjoy this material world that's going to end in a moment? And this point that you brought up is so important, because actual enjoyment doesn't come from degrading ourselves and covering your life with this blanket of existentialism where nothing makes a difference, do whatever you want. That life doesn't make you happy anyway. Actual happiness. And this guy, even though he's suffering tremendously and hopefully recovering, you could see his like connection to sattvic living has kept him, like you were saying, appreciating the sun, appreciating the water, appreciating the elements, appreciating nature. And in that mood of appreciation, that's when you're actually happy, not from trying to like just take what's yours and plow through people's emotions and their lives just to get your sensual needs met. Real happiness comes from living a sattvic life. And so even in the Vedas, it's bringing you higher in the name of refined sense gratification. That was your point you wanted to make. We're getting actual more pleasure from refining our character, refining our sense gratification, which really stems from this deep appreciation, right? In the Vedas, it talks with, I appreciate all the demigods.
Yeah.
I worship the demigods. They've given me so much. How could I not? And you do rituals and pujas and mantras in deep appreciation. And you become like a very, very elevated soul. It's not that we just become like these, it's like we're in Sodom and Gomorrah, or just like trying to like desperately enjoy our senses because everything is nothing. That's like dark. That's like a dark, dark canyon. So yeah.
Okay.
It's the refinement of ourself, even in sense gratification. And eventually you realize, big deal, sense gratification. And that's where the Gita and the Bhagavatam are.
And beyond that,
X36.
they're describing even that very person, right? So that one could understand.
Yeah,
Krishna is a
and the
person.
source of the demigods.
Yeah, right.
You like that pleasure? It's all coming from Krishna.
There you go.
You like that pleasure? You like the sun? You like the water? Guess where they got it from?
Yeah.
All
Right.
right. Prayers
going.
for him. Prayers for this guy.
What's his
This
name?
runner.
What's his name? again?
Tommy Rivers Puzzi.
Okay.
Google him. Interesting guy. Sweet guy. O King, he, the personality of God, had manifested himself in a transcendental form, being the subject of his transcendental name, quality, pastimes, entourage. I love that. Entourage. And transcendental variegatedness. Although he is unaffected by all such activities, he appears to be so engaged. Do you want to explain an entourage?
Well,
What is
this
Krishna's entourage?
It's here. Okay, so now we went from pantheism, mountain is God, to
Is that what pantheism? I'm going to look up pantheism.
yeah, pantheism means you kind of identify nature with God. And then it also mentioned, like a monistic conception, God is everywhere. But
Right.
now it's saying, no, there's beyond all of that. All of that stems from a person. And that person has a name. And that person has qualities. And that person has pastimes. And then entourage and transcendental variegatedness. So it's what Bhagavatam will ultimately reveal is the personality, and when I say personality, it means like what does, just like if I'm talking about Raghunath's personality, then we have to talk about, what he likes, what he doesn't like, who he likes to be with, and so on. And so it's saying that when you get to that person, it's a person that is always surrounded by those that love him and that loves those that love him. And so that's the entourage. And because what ultimately comes revealed is that this is the only reason, this is the whole business, the very whole, like everything for God is to exchange love. So even when you see something like, say, rituals like puja, where let's offer a flower and a lamp, a candle of some sort or something like that, and flowers and prayers, well, what kind of God have you got here? This God needs your stuff and is making you do the. It's really not
Right.
that. It's that really that's just a vehicle or a form in which to package, you could say, your genuine affection, your actual love. And it's only that love that God's interested in. So therefore, even if you offer a lot or a little, it doesn't matter. What really matters is where your heart's at. And so that God is because that's what he lives for constantly. Srila Prabhupada would say, like, there are different artists that would paint Krishna in different ways. And he would always, these are his disciples, and they're painting paintings for his books. And sometimes someone would bring him a painting of Krishna, but Krishna would be alone. And he would say, never paint Krishna alone, because he's always surrounded by those that love him. Like, he's just not interested in going off and being alone. It's not his nature.
Well, that's good to know. Krishna is an extrovert, you might say.
Yeah, well, extrovert, but like he likes to be with people. His whole thing is so. Therefore, whether it's his friends who he has a particular relationship with, or his girlfriends who he has another flavor of relationship with, or
his cows,
his parents. The elderly people in the village, the young people in the village. Some people are younger. That'll draw a certain type of love from his heart. When someone's younger, you're like, you care for them a little bit, and there's a love shown in that way. When there's someone older, there's a certain respect that you have for them. So he likes to love people in that way. When someone's like, equal, your own age or so, then you love them with a certain type of equality. When someone's, when there's a romantic interest, then there's a certain kind of, speciality to that flavor. He's surrounded by an entourage. He's got people in his life, that are the very meaning of his life, and that's Krishna.
I clarified that pantheism does mean exactly what you said it means.
Trust me.
A doctrine which identifies God with the universe or regards the universe as a manifestation of God.
Right. So we started there in the second canto that was described how one can see the sun as the eye of God, and the mountains as the bones of God, the rivers as the veins of God. It's a mental adjustment in order to get my mind on God and to get me out of that rut where, I'm just seeing like everything's just meant for my senses and I don't see connected. We heard it within those 4 nutshell verses that illusion means seeing anything as disconnected from God. And so if I need to make a mental adjustment to bring my mind in to see nature in connection with God, then let me make that adjustment. But there's a deeper and a more complete way to understand God, and that is the person from which all that nature stems from.
Well, I think pantheism is attractive also because we've had a world where we might have had a very sour taste or bitter taste or pungent taste, if not astringent taste.
Salty?
Instead of a sweet taste in a relationship with a personal God, or a representative of a personal God, like a priest or rabbi, synagogue, I don't know, somebody who represents. And so that the doctrine of an idea of a personal God might be
scary,
repugnant, scary, intimidating, not interested. But I do recognize spiritual things. I do recognize the universe is spiritual and stuff like that. And so, and we are here to bring it back, but a cleaner version of a personal God while accepting a pantheistic
accepting those others as reality,
as reality as well.
Those have value.
Yeah.
But here's the complete picture. And so that same author is going to say, now I'm going to tell you everything. My guru, Narada, told me that I should reveal everything. I was kind of holding it back because I wasn't sure it would be understood or appreciated. But now my guru's telling me to do it, so I'll do it.
You also said, hey, by the way, it's not even like critiquing like Islam or Christianity. Islam and Christianity weren't even around then. Buddhism wasn't around then. When this was written, these Bhagavatam was written, what was around? You had the Old Testament, you had Zoroastrianism. Mara, you went to private school. What else was around?
I'm not even sure that those are around.
I have no idea.
You have no idea. What are the
We didn't learn that in
What were the
private
Persians?
school.
Zoroastrians? We got some Persians here
So.
listening to the show. Anyway, yeah. So it's just critiquing of the Vedas itself, which is huge, huge, many different paths, even with the Vedic thought. Okay. Continuing on.
Text 37 through 40. We're going to hear about all kind of creatures now.
Oh, good. You thought you were alone? We are not alone.
Stars,
Okay.
goblins.
Oh, well, this is going to be good.
Lunatics.
Wait. Don't give away give away
Angels.
this stuff. This is good stuff. O King,
Serpentines.
know from me that all living entities are created by the Supreme Lord according to their past deeds.
Okay.
This includes Brahma.
In other words, their bodies are made, you get it, just like a glove is designed for a hand. Bodies are designed for people according to their past deeds and their state of consciousness, so they fit right in.
They actually have chosen their body in
a
some
sense.
way.
Yeah.
Some people can argue with that because they might have a problem with their body. But, I also look at it as like, you know what? Sometimes they just have to do some time.
There you go.
Just like sometimes you know what I mean? Like my
So
wife was
what
saying
you're
about
bringing
this.
up is the idea that like some people are adverse to the idea of karma, because then if someone apparently has some kind of bodily, whether it be a bodily defect or just a lesser body than someone else apparently.
Or even this guy, the runner guy who's dying of
Yeah.
cancer. He has 3 kids. He has a wife. He
What did he
loves
do to
nature,
get
he's
yeah,
connected.
what-
It's
he did
so.
something
Why
bad.
is God so damn unfair?
Right,
What kind
right.
of sadistic God is this?
Or even that can be used as a vehicle for someone's pride or even oppression, right?
For
Like,
sure. For sure.
Like I
Look at
was
your-
born in this family. You were born in a lower way. Even the fact that you were born blind indicates that you're very sinful. So
Sure.
I'm a better person than you, and so on.
Well, I don't. Yeah.
So really, the point is that within the same literature that's explaining how karma works and that our bodies do come from our past deeds. There's more information. You got to take it all. You
Yeah.
can't just take half of it.
This
You got
is
to take the whole
huge,
thing.
people. This is a big thing. What
Yeah.
Kaustubha is saying right now.
Yeah.
Or else you're gonna be like, this is unfair. God is sadistic. God is unfair. What kind of loving God would do this to a person?
But
So-
even that, like I get what you're saying. That's one question. Like the question is why do bad things happen to good people? And the answer here is like, you know what? We're all good and bad people, and so we're getting good and bad results. But even though we may not have seen all the bad, or even we may be doing the bad and not even realizing it, right?
Yeah.
But then there's another question, which is this is just a dangerous philosophy in general because it's going to be used as a tool of oppression. And the caste system is an example of that, where, I look at you as having a lower birth. There's some manifestation of bad karma in you, and that means you're bad and I'm good. Let's establish that, and let's establish our relationship on that
Right.
basis.
So
so
counteract that.
Well, what you
Counteract that.
said was like you're doing time, and the idea is that I think this is a real important point. And if someone comes up, because these kind of things come up now, where concepts of social justice are really, becoming very prominent, and people question the validity of karma based on it. If as a Vedantin, it means that we accept Vedanta as the truth. And then we try to understand the world from that perspective and not the other way around.
Right.
And so we don't say, you know what, I can see how that could be misused, therefore I question whether it's valid. No, what we should do is, a person with faith in Vedanta says, I accept Vedanta is real and it's true. Now let me see how it can be best applied in the world. or how it can be misapplied. Let me be
I
cautious.
like the way you think,
Yeah.
Kaustubha.
Let me be cautious about how it could be misapplied.
Yeah.
So this is real important. If someone's saying, I don't accept your law of karma because it can be used as a tool of oppression,
or it's just unfair.
or it's this is, well, addressing the first,
Okay.
the former now, is that this idea of parabdha and aparabdha karma, that there's a karma that is manifest and karma that is due to manifest in the future, that is sitting like a seed. So let's say I'm born blind and Raghunath is born with sight. And so Raghunath's saying, well, Kaustubha, you're obviously like a really sinful person. That's why
Obviously
you're born blind.
sinful from a previous life because you're blind.
Bad,
and I'm
bad,
better than
bad.
you and bad Kaustubha.
I'm way better than you because
Right.
I can see. Right. So, but then the point would be, well, Raghunath, I accept that my being born blind has something to do with an activity that I've done in the past. But the fact is I also have seeds of karma still lying dormant, as do you. You might be blind tomorrow for all that we know, or it may just be waiting to come, So let's not judge anyone based on externals, right? Knowing that all of us are a bunch of dented cans moving through this dented world together, we've all done good, we've all done bad. Some of it's manifest, some of it's not. I'm not concerned about that. I'm going to see you on the spiritual level, regardless of whether your body is the most beautiful and healthy and powerful and, lustrous, or, most deformed and, handicapped or whatever it may be. Yeah, it's like I see the soul, and that's what the great souls do. They see the soul. We can, and then when you embrace that philosophy of karma, the idea is like, let me do good. Let me teach my children, that, hey, when you're kind to others, kindness comes back to you. When you're generous, it brings an auspicious result back to you. So be a better person. Use that philosophy for good.
Yeah.
It could be used for bad. Someone can warp it and twist it.
Well, for ourself, we say, you know what? I got what I got because who knows why. I must have done something to get. But for us, looking at others, we see, oh, this person is in a tough situation. How can I take care of them? How can I serve them? How can I love them? Yeah. So when we're looking at other people who's struggling, we should feel compassionate when people are in pain, when people are going through some hell, when people are suffering tremendously, and we should care about their welfare. But if it's happening to us, then we say, whatever I have, whatever, wherever, and something I obviously can't change, whatever karma this is. Just like the toad. You know the story about the toad? Lord Rama's standing there with his walking stick and his
Toad?
Yeah, and there's a toad under his walking stick.
Okay.
And the toad asked Lord Ram. He said something like, I gotta get the whole story wrong, but Lord asked Ram, Lord Ram, how can I learn to love you better? And he looked down at the toad. He said, oh my God, my walking stick is on you. It must be crushing you. And he says, you know what, Lord Ram, I really just care about how I can serve you. I accept that I've done some horrible things in a previous life, but to go experience pain right now. But actually, because it's your walking stick, I'll take that just to get your association. So always in mind that whatever I've got. Truthfully, that theory, even if we're just making it up, even if you and me are just making up this Vedic theory right now, it relieves you from a lot of pain. Yeah. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Whatever I got, and I'm going to have to deal with it. I'm going to get over it, and I'm going to work through it. And I'm just going to tolerate it. And truthfully, it's momentary. It's going to happen, and then I'm going to die, and I'm going to have a whole new existence. But my original point was, we're due in time, and like this poor runner who might die, it's like, this isn't his life. This is a thin page of his eternal existence. And he might just have to live for a few years and love and set a good example and leave. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's also in the eternal picture of our identity. This lifetime that I'm really gripped to, this is Raghunath. I'm a father I live here. I live in upstate New York. This is just like a moment in history, a moment, a and the whole Bhagavatam puts us in perspective in that regard, in regards to time and the yuga cycles. We're here just for a moment in history, a bubble in the ocean. And both in our good times and our bad times, in the biggest picture of things, it almost might be like I had a headache this morning for like an hour. It went away. That could be even a life of eternal, a whole life of suffering. It's like a momentary thing in the biggest picture.
There you go.
Doesn't mean we should be not sympathetic to those who are suffering, but it means
it's all the more reason why we should be.
Sure.
Right? It's all the more reason why we should be, because whatever we put out is going to come back.
Just like the toad. All right, let's go on with these interesting beings here. This is interesting beings. If you like ancient aliens, hold on to your seats. This includes Brahma and his sons like Daksha, the periodical heads. The periodical heads, the Vaivashvata Manu. The Manu is like the father of mankind.
We talked about that a few shows ago, right? Manvantars.
Yep. Manvantars. It's where we get the word man from. The demigods like Indra, Chandra, Varuna. Great sages like Brigu, Vyas, Vashishta. The inhabitants of Pitriloka. So Pitriloka is a planet where the forefathers reside. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Like everybody's grandfathers are living on this planet. It's like Florida.
I don't know if it means that or if it means the progenitors, you know?
The Pitris? Oh, all right.
Yeah.
I thought
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Not sure.
People? Okay.
Because like everybody's somebody's forefather.
I know, I guess so. Yeah. Siddhaloka. Siddhaloka is the where perfected beings live.
Yeah.
The planet, imagine that, a planet of perfected
power
beings.
Yogis, right?
Yeah, everybody who does power yoga goes to this planet. They hold plank for hours there on Siddhaloka. The Charanas, everyone's sweating. It's hot yoga. The Charanas. What are the Charanas?
I don't know much about the Charanas. I don't know anything about the Charanas on it.
I've
heard their name in many lists, but I haven't.
I know.
I don't know
The
anything.
Gandharvas, we know, they're like angels, right? And
they're great singers, but they can be powerful warriors and stuff like that too.
Yeah, like Chitraganda was a powerful warrior. The Vidyadharas. The name itself means they hold Vidya. They hold
learning.
Wisdom.
Yeah.
The Vidyadharas. The Asuras, those are people who these are beings who are against the authority of Vishnu. The Yakshas, they have some issues
They're
against
troublemakers.
Vishnu. They're troublemakers. See, it's just like different neighborhoods. These guys on the south side of the tracks here, the Yakshas, the Kannaras. I'm not sure who the Kannaras are.
Yeah.
The angels, I don't know what the translation of that is, but it just says
start to get fun here.
Yeah. The Serpentines.
Snakes.
So this is a planet of Nagas, the Serpentines. Planet of dragon-like people. Check this one out. The monkey-shaped.
Kimpurushas.
The monkey-shaped Kimpurushas. So there's
Purusha means person. So Kim. I don't know what Kim means here. I know Kim can. I mean, I'm probably just way off, but like Kim can be like a question, you know, like Kim or Ka or like what?
No,
I don't know what
Kya.
Kim
That's
Purusha
Kya.
Well, there's all different Ks like that. You know, Vaishnava K. You know, what kind of Vaishnava am I? You know,
What kind of Purusha are you?
what kind of Purusha am I? Monkey
What
shaped.
kind of monkey being are you? Okay, human beings.
Okay.
That's us.
Boring.
We're normal, right? It's so funny how we think we're normal. That from our vantage point, we're normal. But there's all these other beings. The Yakshas and the Asuras and the Vidyadharas, like, we're normal. Those humans are just so boring and dumb. They all think we're dumb. Isn't that funny? We think we're so smart. And all these other higher beings are like, those humans are so dumb. Look what they've done to the planet, they can't even drink their own water from the rivers now, these fools. The human beings, the inhabitants of Matra Loka. I don't know where that is.
Loka, yeah.
Matri Loka. The demons, the Pisachas, the Pisachas, the ghosts. And there's many, many different ghosts. He doesn't list them here. But he says also the spirits, the lunatics. I don't know what the translation is, but the lunatics.
It might actually be.
Sounds like a
something
band.
Well, it might have something to do with the moon and
The people who worship the moon,
I don't know, some connection with the moon is probably.
I don't know. It puts them in the category of ghost spirits, lunatics, evil spirits, the good and the evil stars. So there's inauspicious planets. I think that's what they mean by stars. Inauspicious planets and auspicious planets.
And there's got to be some
Right.
person behind that star, like
Right.
representative
Like
of that
Jupiter is a being.
Mm.
It's a being. Just like the Earth is a being, Jupiter's a being. It's a full moon, right? It's a full moon-ish right now. The moon is a being. But then there's inauspicious planets like Rahu. Rahu is interesting because it's an invisible planet in Vedic astrology, which means it's there, but we can't perceive it. Is that crazy? There's a
Right.
planet that we can't perceive.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
I don't have a problem with it either. I think it's cool though.
Yeah.
There's planets out there that you just can't perceive. Why? Because we can't perceive everything. There's nothing weird about that. What makes you think you can see every planet?
You can't. I just entered into my K2 period, Raghunath.
That's a sub period.
And what
I
I
mean,
sub period,
it's
and
a
what I
sub
understand is that K2 is the sister of Rahu.
Ooh, what does that mean for you?
It means for about a year or so, I got to be a little careful. Apparently, just
I like when astrologers are like, oh, you just got to be careful this
Be a little
year. You're like,
careful.
what does that mean? Is a safe going to fall on my head?
it could.
Just be careful. That's all. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Come on, tell me more.
Things some relation to the nervous system, something like this.
Oh,
I gotta be
Krishna. That's scary. Nervous system.
Just gotta be a little
Be,
careful. that's
be
all.
careful, please.
Yeah.
Okay. The goblins, continuing on, the goblins,
yes.
the animals in the forest, the birds, the household animals. Isn't it interesting? There's
Household.
always, this is thousands of years old. There's
Domestic.
always been household animals.
Mhm.
The reptiles, the mountains. Some mountains are beings. I find that fascinating.
Okay.
Isn't that interesting? Mountains
Yes.
are beings.
Mhm.
You're
Earth
like, yes.
is a being. Earth, we have to be careful how we treat the animals. We got to be careful how we treat the earth too.
You got to be careful how you treat mountains. The moving and the standing living entities, like the trees are standing living entities.
They stand, yeah.
The living entities born from embryos,
Now the different ways that they're born
from eggs,
from eggs.
from perspiration. So
are
some
born from
beings.
perspiration.
Who's born of perspiration?
I don't know.
I guess some bacteria. When you
Something like
perspire, there's
that.
got to be living things in there, right? Mara, you went to AP. You took AP biology, right?
What'd you
Like
learn?
20 years ago.
Honor student biology. Are there
What's
things
born of
living in your
perspiration?
sweat? They're born of perspiration.
The things are living everywhere.
Yeah. Land or sky in happiness,
Hold
in
on, hold on.
distress.
Seeds.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Seeds. There's beings in seeds and all others, whether they be in water, land, sky, in happiness, in distress, or in mixed happiness and distress.
Mhm.
Right? Some people are born in distress. Some people are born in happiness, and some people are born in mixed happiness and
Mixed up.
distress.
Yeah.
All of them, according to their past deeds, are created by the Supreme.
Okay, but this is the secondary creation, right? Earlier, all the verses were here about the primary creation, where Lord Vishnu kind of provided all the elements, and then these are like beyond that, all the actual bodies, and this creation is the Visarga, and this is all done by Brahma.
And then this whole material universe, which we're talking about, is dominated by these three material. How can you even explain it? Modes, energies, right? So it's going to talk about this now. According to the different gunas, or these modes, or material energies, or material nature, the mode of goodness, the mode of passion, the mode of darkness, there are different living creatures who are known as demigods, human beings, hellish entities. There's hellish entities.
So that was Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas right there, right?
Yeah.
Boom, boom, boom.
Right?
Demigods,
There's
human
always
beings.
been like crazy, evil, murderous people.
Or maybe just suffering, just like
Oh, yeah. Or
they're
suffering.
they're suffering more.
And the
So
interesting
the demigods
thing
are
is,
really enjoying because they're the most sattvic, and the human beings, it's kind of a mixture. And then those hellish beings, I think we can understand is those that are just really, living some dark existence.
again, you could say, hey, not fair. Why? And the answer is, don't worry. They're temporary. The hellish living beings, that existence is temporary also.
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
They're not going to stay hellish forever. And you're not going to stay a demigod forever also.
Calm down.
So get that out of your head.
That's right.
What is going on? Oh! My headphones were tied into my closing song. It was going through my headphones on Bluetooth. What? Oh, you guys, we went through all these beings today. Whatever you got, it's temporary. I got some good news and bad news. If you're enjoying material life right now, got great news for you. You're going to lose it all. If you're suffering tremendously, got great news for you. It's going to change also. All the seasons are constantly changing. You're a pure spirit soul. That's our agenda, is to make us remember who we ultimately are. Whatever we're going through out there, it's all temporary, people. What we really have to do is reconnect with what we actually are. We are pure spirit souls, just in this world for a few days only. Let's connect with the highest thing by remembering that identity and give that to other people. What do you say about that?
I'm with it.
But that being said, I'm glad I wasn't born a goblin. But who knows? It could be coming.
It could have been great to be born as a goblin. What exactly
Thanks
is
to
a
everybody
goblin?
listening to us on Zoom. Oh, Zoomers, thank you very much. Oh, others, thank you. Regular others, listen to us. Make it a practice for 2021. Your makeover year. Listen to the Bhagavatam every day, 5 days a week, whatever you can do. Add it to your life. It'll change your life in the most profound way.